The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mike Toy, Regional Sales Manager here at National Brokerage. Looks like we're still getting a few people logged on, so I'm going to give them just a minute here. But just a quick introduction to today's broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining. Today we're going to be talking about setting life insurance goals for 2018. Part of what we want to talk about in regards to setting goals for 2018 is pretty basic, just the why, how, and what. Why we set goals, why it's important to set goals, how we go about setting goals, and what to expect after we do so, and how National Brokerage can help you in achieving whatever your goals may be, and also help you with setting your goals. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start here. So, quick introduction. I know we just talked about it a little bit, but National Brokerage is a full-service life and annuities brokerage. We've been partnering with agents and agencies since 1996 here in Boise, Idaho. We have an exclusive partnership with Cover Financial Technologies. And what that means to you is that if you have a website right now and you have an outdated quote engine or something of that nature, because of our partnership with Cover Financial Technologies, we can help you update that quote engine for your website. And that's something we provide for our agents and agencies at no charge to help you with your life insurance goals. So that's a little bit about who we are. Going to move forward here. So the goal of this presentation today is not only to talk about the importance of setting goals and how we do them, but really understanding why we do them, and then explaining some of the ways that we can go about helping you with that. So to talk about first and foremost why we set goals, and these principles are true universally, but we're going to try and keep it focused on life insurance on this presentation. Why we set these life insurance goals is that we cannot manage or improve what we are not measuring. So in other words, oftentimes I'll hear people say, I want to sell more life. And of course they do. We all do. We all want to sell more life. We all want to be more successful, but just wanting to sell more life isn't really enough to get us where we want to go. We have to actually look at where we're coming from, look at where we're at now, and then set the goal accordingly so that we'll know if we're close to the mark or way off the mark. And how National Brokerage can help you with that is we can provide those regular reports for you. Most people don't know, but all your sales reports are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in your OES account. And that's something I'm going to go into here in a moment and show you where to find that and some of the intricacies to those reports. Moving forward here, how we set the goals. So going off of those reports and off conversations with your rep and with you, we're going to examine the history of what you've done, whether it was with us or with someone else. And when I say examine history, I mean what we're really going to do is just look at what you've done so far up to this point, see if you're happy with that type of, with those numbers, see where maybe things could have been improved on our end, on your end, whoever, and not in a gotcha kind of way, but in more of a just looking for areas to improve. Oftentimes there's a big glaring hole in the game somewhere along the line, and it's not a fault thing, it's just we're looking for those areas so that we can plug those holes and maximize your efficiency. After examining your history, we're going to assess the present situation. We're going to look and see, okay, this is where you came from, this is where we're at now. Maybe you've got 2 cases in system now and you've got 3 more on deck that you're working on. So we're going to assess the current situation, and then knowing where we came from, knowing where we're at now, we can plan the future. And I don't mean plan for the future, I mean plan the future, plot it out. We can say realistically, this is what you're used to doing, this is where you want to be, and here's what we've got to do to get you there. And that's what we like to do. So again, just want to thank you for trusting us and working with us to help you get there. This is something we do all day, every day. We look at these reports, and oftentimes trends can just jump off the page at us, and we can help you find those. And then importantly, we track progress. So after we set the goal and after we plan the future for where you want to go, we just want to track it along the way. So we'll know if you're, maybe you're blowing it out of the water. Maybe you set a goal of, I want to do $20,000 in premium in 2018. And by March, you're already at 17,000. Okay, well, now we know that we set the bar too low. Maybe we should adjust that goal. So we want to stay flexible and say, maybe the goal should have been, 50,000 or whatever the case may be, or vice versa. Maybe by July, you're at 1,000. So we know now, okay, we set the bar too high. Do we adjust it? Do we keep it where it is and just fix something that we're doing? Those are the things we look for. So it's important to track the progress of how things are going. And then next is what to expect. And that, when I say what to expect, I mean what to expect from us, from National Brokerage, and what to expect of yourself and of the future. What you can expect, first and foremost, is a better understanding of how you operate, how we operate, how the industry as a whole operates, and you can start to see trends yourself, and that leads to a better process. Just to give you a couple examples, maybe you excel at generating leads, but contacting your client is something that hasn't been a strength. Maybe you get a hold of them initially, but after that, you have trouble doing it for whatever reason. That's something we can help with. That's something we look for. Or vice versa, maybe you excel at that, but we notice that once a case is in the system, the ball gets dropped somewhere along the line, maybe trying to track down an APS record, something along those lines. And that's something that we need to address. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for any of those gaps in the game plan so that we can fix those gaps, and with the end goal, of course, of helping you achieve your goal and increasing production. And then lastly, and this kind of goes without saying, but what to expect: results. None of this will lead to bad results. Becoming aware of your trends and becoming aware of how you operate with the goal of improving will always yield good results. It may not happen overnight, or maybe it will. Who knows? But it will lead to results. Okay. Moving forward here. Okay, so going forward, I can hear you thinking already. That sounds great, Mike. Now what? What do we do now? So let's start with the why. And I know that we covered this a little bit already as to why we want to set goals, because of course we can't manage or improve what we don't measure. And we talked about how National Brokerage can help you by providing regular reports, but I'm just going to give you a quick look here at what those reports look like and where to find them. Anybody who has an OES account, I'm sure no doubt has seen this screen before. This is your home page in your OES account. So when you log in, this is where it takes you. Now I'm going to show you, next slide here. This is where you go to find those reports. You go to reports, report overview. It's going to give you all kinds of options in here. Key performance indicators is really a good starting point because it's going to show you the difference in products that you sell, term versus UL. It's going to show you your place percentage. It's going to show you your paid premium for last year. You can sort it just endless ways. You can look at how much you did last week or last month or over the last 10 years or from point A to point B at any time point in your history. You can then export that report into a PDF or Word document, Excel, what have you. That way you can save records of it. But it's always here, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and this is something we can show you If you don't know where this is, or if I'm going over it a little too quickly, I would encourage you to talk to your rep. Give us a call. We'll show you where it's at. We can even turn on our screen so that you can just see us clicking through, and you can see exactly where to go to find this. This is just a dummy account. I'm not showing anybody's personal info, but just to give you an example here, you can see in this dummy account, agent sold $12,759 in premium last year. Year to date this year, $9,475. You can see his place percentage this year is 85% compared to last year's 20%. So huge improvement there. And then average paid premium, $1,579 compared to $2,126. So that may look like it decreased, and it did, but because of his place percentage, it's actually less time that he invested. So it's actually a win overall in this particular dummy account example. So just to give me an idea of what those reports look like, that's where you go, and that's just one of many ways to run these. You can also break down these reports per carrier. You can say, okay, how much did I sell of Protective versus XYZ carrier? It looks like I'm placing 80% of my business with Protective, whereas only 10% places with this other carrier. So what's going on over here? Maybe this other carrier specializes in something that I don't do and Protective does. That, just for an example, I'm just throwing out some names, but those are the things that we look for. And those are the things that we do all day. So again, call your rep and look at it with them. Our goal is to work with you as partners, not to show you your weak spots and hide ours. That's not the goal. So talk to your rep, and we'll look for these type of trends. Moving forward here. And just to dive in a little more on what we're looking for. And this dovetails into the how of setting a goal. How do we go about setting a goal? So to go into that with a little more detail, the first thing we want to do, again, is look at those reports. We want to examine the history and look for any trends, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and see how things looked, where the strong points were, where the weak points were, what can we do to fix the weak points, what can we do to maximize those strong points. That's something that gets overlooked a lot. I think oftentimes people, and I've been guilty of this myself, is we look for those weak points and then we just focus on those and we try to fix those weak spots. And that's good, but that's only half the battle. The other half of the battle is focusing on the strong points and just maximizing those. Just like if you've ever coached a little league team, you want to utilize your strongest player as much as possible. You don't want to focus solely on the ones that need improvement. You want to maximize the strong players too. So those are some of the things we look for. And then, of course, again, we assess the present. Here's what you're working on currently. Maybe this was the plan that we all had in mind to handle those, but after looking at the history, we now know that we should take this other approach. You were about to apply them with XYZ carrier. Maybe it's a good idea to stick with Protective. I'm picking on Protective today, but they're part of the example. So since you place so much business with Protective and your place percentage was high, maybe we should stick with them in this case for now until we can pinpoint what the problems were. So that's what I mean by assessing the present. And then again, plan the future. And that is somewhat self-explanatory, but now that we have a good, thorough understanding of how we got here and where here is, we can look at there for the future, and we can say there is where we want to get. A good rule of thumb when planning the future and setting a goal, a sales goal for the future, is you want to look and see what your trends are, what you're currently pacing at, and whatever you're pacing at, add 10% to it. And that's just a starting point. Maybe you're more ambitious than that, or maybe not. Maybe your focus is in other areas, but you do want to increase life, but only a moderate amount. It's case by case. That's just a general rule of thumb if you're looking for a starting point on how to plan your future goal. And then again, track progress. That part couldn't be more important, because if we lose focus on how we're doing along the way, we won't know if we're succeeding or failing. We'll have no idea. So um, I would encourage you to always check your reports, and then secondly, get with your rep, and your rep can send you reports. I've got agents that I work with and a few agencies that ask me to send them monthly reports. So I go into that same screen I just showed you, and I just save it as a PDF, and I email it to either the office manager or the individual agent and say, here's your monthly report. It helps them, because oftentimes they've got a lot going on and they can't remember exactly where to go, and it only takes me about 5 seconds to do it. So now, I'm not saying we want to do that manually all the time, but we don't mind doing it if that's beneficial to you. So don't be afraid to ask us to do that. Maybe on a quarterly basis or monthly or semi-annually, whatever the case may be. But also check it yourself as well. Anytime you're curious, go in and just see where you're at. Play around with the parameters and see, okay, looks like I did a lot between March and June. Just for an example, you can run these reports so many different ways. So get to know it, get with your rep, and we'll show you more. Moving forward here, some trends. Again, I know we talked about the trends that we look for, but just to give you a few more examples, specific examples, that is, of trends that we look for. Some of the things that I see fairly often is misquoting. Sometimes we, either as a rep or you as the agent or the client isn't thinking, about all their health situations. We work with what we've got, and we end up misquoting it. So what happens when we misquote it is maybe we quoted them preferred and they came back standard table 2, or they came back standard smoker, because maybe they smoke marijuana, but they didn't want to mention that, or just didn't come to their mind because they don't consider it a medical situation. So misquoting can lead to unfavorable decisions or even declines. So getting the hang of that is pretty crucial. That's one trend that can easily be fixed if we just look at it. And one thing I'll throw out too, and I meant to mention this in the beginning and I didn't, so I'm going to mention it now, is in this whole process of setting goals for 2018, we're not necessarily suggesting that you should work a lot harder. I mean, yes, it takes hard work to achieve goals, but oftentimes, believe it or not, it takes less work. It just takes tweaking a few things that we're doing on our end and on your end. Just tweaking a few things that we're doing to maximize efficiency. So, in other words, by looking at these trends and setting these goals, you can work less and actually achieve more. I mean, if there was one goal that I would just circle and underscore, that's it right there. Working less to achieve more. So that's something to keep in mind. And I've got specific ways to do that. I'm sure your rep will too, which we'll go into here in just a second. So other trends that we look for: delays with paperwork. And that could be anything from contracting to applications to, chasing down APS records or scheduling paramedics. You name it, there's paperwork for it, and there could potentially be delays. So we look for that. We look for where the delays happen. It could be anywhere. It could be on your end, it could be on our end, it could be with the carrier, it could be chasing down an APS. And chasing down an APS is one of those things that really none of us have a lot of control over, because we're just waiting on the doctor's office to give us records, and the doctor doesn't necessarily, they don't follow our rules, they don't follow your rules, they don't follow the carrier's rules. They go by their own beat of their own drum. So that is one area that we see a lot of delays, but it's important to recognize if that's where the delays are, compared to, oh, the delay is just scheduling a pyramid. No excuse for that. So that's something that we want to be aware of if that's where the delay is, because that's on our end. Moving forward here, other potential obstacles that we could look for: contracting issues, communication issues, technical issues. Contracting issues, for the most part, once we run into an issue on the first carrier that we try to get you appointed with, it tends to become, we're able to better anticipate it the next time we get you appointed with a different carrier. So by anticipating that issue, we can more or less curb the delay by addressing it before it becomes a problem, rather than reacting to it. Communication issues, I'll give you some examples there. That could mean maybe just contacting a client a second or third time. I mean, we want to minimize the times that we have to rely on contacting them, but there are times that we have to. Some examples would be, maybe we contacted them and we took the application, we had to call them back to schedule a paramed, and now we're having trouble getting a hold of them. So that would be a communication issue. Not necessarily anyone's fault, it's just an issue. We want to be aware of it so that maybe we can find ways around it. One good example I had recently was someone that we had their work phone number, but for whatever reason, it was marked on their file to call them in the evening. And so you can guess what happened. We were calling their work when they weren't there. And so we had a heck of a time finding them. But becoming aware of that issue, we were able to dial it in and say, okay, this is something we need to fix. We just need a home number, or we need to call them during work hours. And then it was fixed. So that's just one example off the top of my head. Technical issues could be, well, use your imagination there. We all get them all the time these days. So any kind of technical issue, submitting an application online, or maybe doing an e-signature, that type of thing. So that's what I mean by technical issues. Moving forward here. Okay. Lack of options, or a perceived lack of options. So what I mean by that, some examples would be nuances between carriers and underwriting guidelines. One thing I'll stress here is that this isn't something we expect everyone to know. We don't expect everyone to know and memorize nuances between underwriting guides. Who has time for that? The answer is we do. That's what we do. We spend our all day, every day doing that type of thing. So, utilize us, utilize our expertise. That's what we're here for. We're here to be the expert for you, to help you close more sales. So just a couple examples so you know what I'm talking about there. You could have, let's say you've got somebody who races for a living. They're a professional race car driver. Well, the nuances between the carriers and underwriting are minute but significant. They have no health issues typically, but there are flat extras involved. So in other words, the carrier charges extra because it's a higher risk. One carrier might charge a $2 flat extra at standard. Another carrier might charge a $5 flat extra at preferred best. So it's just it's just nuances like that that we can figure out with you to help you point it in the right direction. Pointing it in the right direction initially is always the best way, rather than going with a carrier that we're loyal to and that we love, but maybe is not a good fit, only to find out that it's not a good fit. Now we have to start all over. So that causes frustration with the clients and with you. It costs time. So we want to avoid that. We want to get it right the first time as much as we possibly can. So utilize your rep to find those nuances between one carrier or product and another. Another perceived lack of options that I see a lot, and that unfortunately I don't get to see because sometimes people just assume there is no option, and so I never hear of it again, or they don't follow up with it afterwards. It's just a lack of awareness of how different products can work. We all have an idea of how certain products work, and so we go about our sales in that way, but there are oftentimes little changes we can make to products that will better suit your client's situation. Some examples would be maybe they wanted long-term care and life insurance. Well, we might think, okay, I'll get them a long-term care policy and a term life insurance policy. Maybe not realizing that there are hybrid products out there that do both. Lincoln Money Guard's got one. Nationwide has a great one with Care Matters. They're out there, and those are some of the nuances that your rep will know about and can help you figure out. So anytime you've got somebody that's even slightly outside the box, talk to us, shoot us an email, give us a call, and we'll help you figure it out. So especially when it comes to ULs and permanent products, those things can be structured any number of ways. So I won't go into all the ways now, but I'll let you know that there are different ways. So I would encourage you, again, talk to your rep about that. You don't have to memorize everything. Just, let us do some of that heavy lifting for you and utilize our expertise. So let's move forward here. Okay. What you can expect. And again, when I say what you can expect, I mean from yourself. What can you expect going forward? What you can expect from us at National Brokerage, and what you can expect for the future. What you can expect is a better understanding. First and foremost, looking at all of these things and looking at your history and your trends and setting a goal for the future. Even if you have no history yet, that's fine. We can still set a goal based on what we do know, and then we can track it from there. Even that will give us a better understanding of what we're looking at and what we're dealing with. And the better we understand the situation, the better we can improve that process. Wherever it is in the process, we like to use the phrase from submission to commission, meaning the moment you submit the app, and then it goes through the whole life cycle of scheduling a paramed if there is one, chasing down APS records if that's needed, going through underwriting, getting the decision, explaining that decision to your client. Maybe it comes back different than they applied for. Could be better or worse, who knows? But all those different steps, the better we understand the trends and what's happening, the better we can improve that process by shaving time off of this area or that area, or even better, if we can anticipate problems before they arise. It is infinitely better than reacting to a problem after it happens. So that's always a goal in our mind, and I'm sure it would be for yours too. No one likes dealing with the mess if we can avoid the mess. So a better understanding leading to a better process for everyone. And then again, results. We all want better results. So that is something you can expect one way or another. Becoming aware of what's going on and making a goal will always lead to better results. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. So I'll give you an example of improving the process. NBGo, for example. I'm going to put a shameless plug in here for NBGo, but it really is a good program. If you haven't used it yet, try it out. For those of you who have used it, I'm sure you can attest, hopefully, that it does improve the process. And what it is essentially is, rather than you taking an application, so let's say you run a quote and the client wants it, instead of you going out and downloading the 30-page form and filling out the application and sending it to us, you can instead go to our website here on natbrokers.com, click on NBGo, you run the quote here, see the product you want, and click submit. Then you're done. From that point on, you don't have to do anything. It comes to our NBGo team. We call them on your behalf and say, hi, we're calling on behalf of the agent. It looks like you wanted this particular product. Do you have a few minutes to go over the application? Yes, great. And then they do the application over the phone, all on your behalf. So it saves you a lot of time, and it does improve the process because our team focuses solely on taking the application. They don't do any selling. That's just not what they do. So in other words, they're very efficient at it. They know all these products and apps inside and out. They know when they hear a particular health issue what to expect, and maybe better ways to go about it. And anytime that they are convicted that a change is necessary, they'll contact the rep, and then the rep will contact you. So again, if you haven't used it, definitely encourage you to use it. I'm going to move forward here. Okay. And then, of course, by improving the process, and that was just one of endless examples of ways that we can improve a process. By improving that process, we can expect better results. And I hope you like my detailed chart here. I chose the cheesiest one I could find, but it indicates kind of what we would hope to see by gaining a better understanding and improving our process. Move forward to the next slide here. So just a quick recap here on setting goals. Okay, so quick recap. Get with your rep, talk to your rep, ask for reports, or ask how to find your reports if you're not sure. Or you can just log into your OES right now, and from the home page, click on the tab that says reports. And from there, you can just play around with it. You can't break it, don't worry. So don't be afraid to go in there and play around, run it all kinds of different ways. If you have trouble, again, get with your rep. One other thing I'll point out, I'm going to go to the next slide here so I can show you this. When you're in your OES, anytime you're not sure how to do something, whether it's running reports or setting up a marketing drip campaign with emails, or checking case status, for example, anything you can't figure out, click on help. Now, I say that tongue in cheek because oftentimes people don't do that because it rarely leads to good articles. But in this case, it actually does. When you click on help, you can see video tutorials on how to do exactly what you're trying to do. So go in there, click around, it'll show you, where to click and what to do. So back to our recap here, ask for reports. Then we're going to look for trends. Just a quick snapshot here of what some of these reports can look like. And then after looking for trends and looking at the reports, we can set a goal for 2018, a realistic yet ambitious goal for 2018. So that's just some of the examples on how we set goals, why we set them, how we set them, and what to expect for 2018. Some ideas to discuss with your rep, because I want to leave you with some good material here going forward on what you can look at and what you can discuss with your rep. Options for simplified issue. There are more and more options nowadays for simplified issue products. And the nuances are many. So again, don't expect you to memorize them all. That's what we're here for, but definitely utilize us for that. And I'll just give you an example of some nuances. There's a carrier right now that is non-med for $250,000 and below for standard or worse, but there would never be a medical exam. There's another carrier that is potentially non-med for up to $1 million, but it has to be preferred or better. And then there, of course, is the option that they may end up requiring a medical exam if something comes back unfavorable. So those are just some of the nuances. Every carrier is a little different. I've yet to see two carriers with the exact same simplified issue program. So depending on your client's situation, or if you just want to set up a streamlined operation that you can just funnel all of your clients into, that's fine too. Get with us. We'll help you figure those out. We've got cheat sheets we can send you on how each carrier's simplified issue program works. Also, wealth transfer products. This is overlooked, I think, but very significant area to look at. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. There are some pretty simple to understand products out there. And I'll give you an example. You can do a single premium whole life. Just off the top of my head, I know of a carrier right now where a client can put in anywhere between 5,000 and up in a single premium whole life. There are more people out there, believe it or not, that have money just under their mattress or buried in a tin can in the backyard than you would think. They're out there, and I'm talking a decent amount of money. So when you come across those, it's infinitely better to put that money in some type of wealth transfer product than it is under the mattress. Typically, when you come across those, the concern for the client is, well, I want to be able to get to it when I want to get to it. Somebody told me about an annuity, but annuities have surrender charges, and maybe that's the case, maybe not. Annuities are great too, for the right cases. In this particular case, we're talking about single premium whole life. And without diving in the weeds too much, you can get around those concerns and explain to them that there's 100% return of premium from day one. So instead of putting it under the mattress, put it in that single premium whole life. If next week you change your mind and you want your money back, we surrender the policy and you get all your money back, all of it. You don't lose anything. So right off the bat, that squishes that concern and lets them know, okay, maybe this is safer. And then you go into the fact that, if God forbid you were to die, instead of that 50,000 under your mattress going to your grandkids, that just turned into $100,000 life insurance policy. So now they all get twice as much, and it skips the probate. It just goes directly to whoever you designate it to go to. Oh, and by the way, it grows with interest over time. All those different things. So look at wealth transfer products. That was just one example off the top of my head. Something to ask your rep about. And underwriting niches. Too vast to go into too many examples on that because there are so many of them out there. But that is something that we do. So utilize your rep for that. Our expertise is it's very good in this area. So get with us to learn some of these nuances, or maybe we'll even get with you after looking at trends with you and say, okay, it looks like you cater to this type of client a lot. Here's a good underwriting niche for you. This is a carrier you never looked at before, but boy, would it work. That type of thing. So these are just a few examples of ideas to discuss with your rep to help you achieve your goals for 2018. You can keep doing whatever it is that you do, and definitely maximize whatever your strengths are. I would encourage you to do that. But talk with us about what those strengths are so that we can identify them, what maybe some weak points are on your end and our end and the carrier's end, maybe on the client's end. We just want to become more aware of how things are operating now so that we can improve them going forward. So with that, I'm going to open it up here to questions and answers. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in. I didn't go into anything too specific, so I don't really anticipate there being a lot of questions. This is more of an informative or thought-provoking webcast just to get you thinking about setting goals, why we want to do it, how we do it, and what to expect once we do it. So I'm going to open it up here. Let's see if we've got any questions. Let's see. Does it cost anything for the reports for the OAS account? Great question. I didn't even cover that. No, it doesn't. It's free. We provide that CRM system to our agents at no charge, just to help you with your business. And so that is always available, no charge. Is there a cut in commission on NB to use NB Go? No, there's not. So that's something to be aware of too. It doesn't cut your commission to have us take the application for you. It's good for you and it's good for us. It cuts down on time. We all close more business that way. So it's something we provide at no charge. Do we provide websites for agents? Excuse me. We do. We don't really specialize in providing full websites nowadays. It's more quote engines that we can do for you, but get with your rep and we can talk about that, because that NBGo has a way to export it onto your site. It's called NBGo Elite. It's underutilized. A lot of people don't know that they can do that, but there are reasons that you should do it, and maybe there are some realistic reasons why you shouldn't. And so that's something we'll talk to you about. It's not something we try to sell people to do. It's got to be a good fit. It has to make sense. So, but it doesn't cost you anything as an agent or an agency. So get with us. We'll explain that to you and see if we can get you set up on one of those. And it looks like that's it. That covers all the questions. So again, I just want to thank everybody for attending the webcast today. I hope that this created some awareness to how it can benefit you to set goals for 2018. Again, I would just encourage you to contact your rep here at National Brokerage. If you don't have a representative yet, get with us and just call the 800 number, 800-377-6344, and ask for a rep if you don't have one. Or if you do have a rep, again, just ask for their extension or call them directly. My name is Mike Toy. I'm the regional sales manager here. My email address is below. It's mike.toy@natbrokers.com. Thanks again for attending, everybody. We appreciate your time. We look forward to working with you in 2018, and we hope to help you achieve your goals. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.